Have you ever left a doctor's visit feeling like your lab results didn't tell you the full story? If you're on a low-carb, keto, or carnivore diet, or just curious about your metabolic health, this video is for you. Today I'm breaking down the essential labs you need to track, why they matter, and what they reveal about your body's health on these diets. And here's the best part. I'll also show you where to get these labs if your doctor won't order them, so stick around. And hey, if you want more content like this, hit that like button and subscribe to my channel and comment below with any labs I may have missed. So let's dive in. First up, let's tackle the basics. These are labs you've likely had before, but let me share a few things you may not know about them. Complete blood count, also known as a CBC. This looks at your red and white blood cells and platelets. For those on keto or carnivore, low-carb diets can sometimes lead to slightly higher hematocrit levels due to a mild dehydration from water loss in the initial phases of the diet. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, but staying hydrated is key. Comprehensive metabolic panel, also called a COMP. Beyond electrolytes and kidney health, the liver enzyme test in this panel, called the ALT and AST, can tell you if you're dealing with a fatty liver. Here's the good news. Low-carb diets are one of the most effective ways to reverse a fatty liver. Lipid panel. Here's a surprising fact. If you're already eating low-carb and your total LDL cholesterol goes up, it's not necessarily a reason to panic. The triglyceride to HDL ratio is what matters. The triglyceride to HDL ratio below 2 is considered optimal and reflects reduced insulin resistance. If your ratio improves on keto, you're likely on the right track. Thyroid stimulating hormone, called TSH. Standard tests only scratch the surface. Many people on low-carb diets feel great despite a slightly higher TSH. So this marker alone doesn't tell the full story, but there's more about the thyroid I'll share in a moment. Vitamin D. Did you know that vitamin D levels can directly affect insulin sensitivity? Low levels are common in those with chronic metabolic issues, but sunshine and supplementation often lead to dramatic improvements. I recommend D3K2 since the K2 ensures the calcium vitamin D helps you absorb better, ends up in your bones as opposed to your arteries and joints. Hemoglobin A1C. If you've been low carb for a while, this marker might not fully reflect your progress, especially if you're eating fewer carbs. It was thought that low-carb diets may increase hemoglobin lifespan, falsely elevating your A1C levels, so keep that in mind. Urinalysis. While routine, it's worth noting that some people on keto or carnivore may see trace ketones in their urine. This is completely normal and reflects your metabolic state, so don't worry so much about that. Now let's get into the labs that can uncover what's really happening under the hood. These tests are game changers. Let's start with the uric acid. Uric acid isn't just about gout. It's a marker of metabolic dysfunction. Low-carb diets often lower uric acid over time, especially as insulin resistance improves. Fasting insulin, or HOMA-IR. Did you know that normal fasting glucose doesn't always mean you're in the clear? High fasting insulin can indicate early insulin resistance years before diabetes develops. On keto, you're often going to see fasting insulin levels drop dramatically, one of the clear signs of metabolic healing. Everyone should get a fasting insulin test. C-peptide. This lab complements fasting insulin and is particularly useful for anyone managing diabetes. It helps you understand how much insulin your pancreas is producing. It can also be a screening test for distinguishing between type 1 and type 2 diabetes. Glucose tolerance test, GGT. The 2-hour version is crucial for detecting hidden insulin resistance. Even if your fasting glucose is normal, your blood sugar response to a glucose low might surprise you. This is often overlooked but can be life-changing to know. high-sensitive C-reactive protein, or CRP, a measure of inflammation in your blood. Chronic inflammation is a root cause of many diseases, including heart disease and cancer. Many low-carb eaters see a CRP level drop as inflammation improves. Advanced iron panels, ferritin, iron saturation, and transferrin are crucial for understanding hidden causes of fatigue. On low-carb diets, iron absorption often improves, which can resolve long-standing deficiencies. Now let's talk about cholesterol. Your focus on cholesterol should be more than just your total LDL. It's not the LDL quantity, it's the LDL quality that matters the most. So let's explore some advanced markers. LDL particle sizes. Small, dense LDL particles are more atherogenic, meaning they're more likely to cause plaque buildup in arteries. On keto, we often see a shift towards large, fluffy LDL particles, which are much safer. Let's talk about the apolipoprotein beta-A ratio. A lower apo-beta-A ratio suggests lower cardiovascular disease risk. That's all I need to say about that. What about the lipoprotein small particle A? This genetic marker is critical. Even if your cholesterol looks great, high levels of lipoprotein small particle A can increase heart disease risk. Knowing this can help you make personalized dietary or medical adjustments. This is probably the only test that you don't need to get more than once because it's more of a genetic risk which you were simply born with. Now, in terms of the thyroid, if you're struggling with fatigue, weight loss, or mood swings, a detailed thyroid test is a must. Free T4 and free T3 are tests that are active thyroid hormones that actually affect your metabolism. Some people on low-carb diets might see a slight lower T3 level without symptoms, which may reflect a more efficient metabolism. Then you have this reverse T3 test. This is like the brake pedal on your metabolism. High reverse T3 can be a sign of stress or inadequate calorie intake. And then you have the thyroid antibodies. If you suspect Hashimoto's or other autoimmune conditions, these are essential. Finally, there are some lesser known labs that can take your metabolic health understanding to the next level. And we'll start with glucose and ketone levels and the glucose ketone index, also abbreviated GKI. Tracking your ketones isn't just for beginners. It can reveal how efficiently you're producing and using ketones for fuel. These labs are particularly important for health conditions like mental health, cancer treatment, neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and Huntington's, and of course, epilepsy. As it relates to glucose and ketone levels, taken separately and when aiming for ketosis, the best glucose levels are typically considered to be between 70 and 90 milligrams per deciliter. And for ketones, the best levels for light nutritional ketosis are levels of 0.5 to 1.5 millimoles per liter. Optimal ketone levels, especially for the health conditions I've mentioned previously, may be best to keep those levels between 1.6 and 3 millimoles per liter. Even better is the glucose ketone index, which is a calculation, glucose divided by 18 divided by the ketone reading. The graph shows the levels needed to be in ketosis. And if you're looking for a great company for measuring your blood ketones and glucose values, I would recommend Keto Mojo, who shared this wonderful graph. I'll share an affiliate link in the video notes for those who are interested in this great company. Another great lab to consider are carnitine levels, especially for carnitine is essential for transporting fatty acids into cells for energy. Low levels can cause fatigue even on a high-fat diet. If it's low, some docs like myself would recommend supplementation. Then you have homocysteine. Elevated homocysteine is a sign of inflammation or poor methylation, often related to genetic factors like MTHFR mutations. This can be improved with B vitamin supplementation. Now, I want to mention lipoprotein small particle A again because it's that important. It's often overlooked but critical for cardiovascular health, so make sure to get that test at least once. Here are some powerful studies to back up these recommendations. We have studies dealing with fasting insulin as the predictor of diabetes, studies dealing with the triglyceride to HDL ratio and the risk for heart disease using those measures, and then LDL particle size studies. I'll include links to these studies in the descriptions so that you can dive deeper into the science. Now that you know what labs to track, it's time to take action. And if your doctor doesn't value some of the labs we've discussed, no worries, because companies like Dave Feldman's Own Your Own Labs gives you direct access to these labs without a doctor's order. So don't forget, guys, to share this video with someone who needs this information. It could literally change their lives. Comment below if you have questions or if I missed a lab you think that's important. And don't forget to subscribe for more life-changing insights on low-carb, keto, and of course, carnivore diets. I really want to thank you for watching, and here's to mastering your metabolic health from the Metabolic Health Doc.